I honestly didn't expect to be inside of a Paraguayan hospital so soon and for multiple times. But after two separate health issues and multiple trips to the emergency room, I really didn't have a choice. And I'll admit, coming from the United States, I was a little nervous because I had no idea what the process would be like. I didn't know if the care would be any good or how competent the doctors were. And I definitely didn't know how much everything was going to cost. And if you've ever thought about moving abroad or leaving the United States, you probably had similar questions in regards to what healthcare is like outside of the US. So in this video, I'm gonna go over everything that happened. I'm gonna go over my entire experience from checking into the hospital to what was the care like that I received and to that final bill and how much everything actually cost, which caught me a little off guard. And by the way, if you're new here, I'm Alex. I left the United States in 2022, built a better life here in South America through earning online income, and now I help other men do the same. So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to subscribe. Let's get into the video. So let's talk about my healthcare experience here in Paraguay, something I haven't really talked too much about. So I thought now would be a good time to go into it. I really had two health issues while I've been here. Number one, I actually got shingles. Like, believe it or not, I feel like I'm a pretty healthy guy. I get blood testing every 6 months. No concerns there. I'll go over like my process doing that at this hospital as well, and the cost and everything. Number two is I got an infected skin abscess, which I think came from a spider bite. And this happened twice in total in terms of the skin abscess. But my first health scare came when I got shingles, and then just like a week later is when the skin abscess happened. So it was definitely a stressful couple weeks that I had during that time. I think it's gonna make for a good story and a good experience of what you can expect the healthcare and the hospital system here in Paraguay and Asuncion specifically, what it's like. I'll even give you the name of the hospital at the end of the video so that you know where to go to if anything were to happen to you in Paraguay. And throughout this experience, which I went through the private healthcare system without any insurance, by the way, it completely changed the way that I looked at healthcare outside of the US and in South America. All right, so let's talk about the experience with shingles first. So shingles is not something that's pleasant. If you're a guy who's never had shingles, it can be painful. It's obvious when you get it. So it's obviously something that you need to go to the doctors for, right? Now, I didn't know that it was shingles before I got to the hospital. So I walked into one of the best hospitals in Asuncion. Again, I'll share the name at the end of the video. How it worked is I simply walked in. It was pretty close to my apartment too. It's one of the best. It's in one of the best zones in Asuncion too. There's really three main hospitals in Asuncion that are really good, but I chose this one more for proximity. And how it worked, I simply walked in. I told them what I was there for. I wanted to get something checked. So the way that it starts is you have to start with a doctor consultation. And I was surprised of how little I had to wait. I simply walked in, they sat me down, I had to wait for my number to be called, and then I went over there, I told them what I wanted to have done or to have checked. Basically, they charged me right there. The amount was about $20 for a doctor consultation. So that was really step one. Once I paid, they gave me a receipt, and they told me to wait at a specific location in the hospital. You'll notice that in the hospital, there's certain door numbers. So each doctor is basically doing consultations throughout the whole day. And you just have to sit outside of that specific door number waiting for your name to be called. So I probably waited about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes before my name was called, which was not a lot of time at all, considering I had just walked in, like, I don't know, without booking an appointment in advance. So he basically asked me a bunch of questions. He examined me, and then he gave me a referral to go visit because this was more of a special case. Again, shingles is not something that he could handle himself. So he basically had to go to another doctor. Now, unfortunately, that doctor wasn't available at that same time. So I had to schedule a new appointment to see that specialist for this case of shingles that I had. So I scheduled an appointment with the specialist. I pay another $20 for a consultation. And then he's the one that confirms to me that, in fact, it is shingles. After that, he basically prescribed some antivirals for me. So the visit was pretty short and sweet. Across the street is a pharmacy that I go to. And the good thing about Paraguay, and really most places in South America, you'll see pharmacies all over the place. They exist everywhere. So there was literally a pharmacy right across the street. I go to buy the antivirals, which is really affordable. I think it was maybe, I don't know, like $10, $15. I then take the antivirals as prescribed, and within a week, I'm completely healed. Now, keep in mind, I had no Paraguayan health insurance. I had no private health insurance, no in-country health insurance, right? The only thing that I do have is international health insurance in case an emergency would happen, in case something very serious would happen, which requires multiple stay overnights at hospitals, surgeries, right? I'm covered for that up to a certain amount, and it's in the hundreds of thousands. And luckily, I haven't had to use that yet. So everything I've done up to this point is just going to private hospitals and paying out of pocket. All right, so all in all, I was very impressed with the short wait periods. I was very impressed with the process, the competence of the doctors, and how quick and easy everything was. And then as far as the cost, the consultations themselves were just $20 each. So for two consultations, one with the general doctor for the consultation, The other one was for the specialist who actually gave me the antiviral prescription. It was just $40, $40 with minimum wait times, no appointment needed, just walk right in. And then the antiviral medication itself was about, again, $10, $15, which I simply walked into the pharmacy. They gave it to me immediately. Now compare that to the US, where in the US, first off, as a self-employed person, because I do remote sales, I'd have to pay several $100s a month just for the monthly premium. And in the state of Massachusetts, in the entire country, it's actually required to have health insurance. I don't even have the option. I'm forced to pay a monthly premium of a few hundred a month. And if I don't, then I'm charged a penalty at the end of the year, which I think is kind of dumb. So again, if I'm in the US, I'm paying several hundred a month just for the monthly premium. And if this happened in the States, I would have had to wait days just to set an appointment. Forget about walking in and just getting an appointment right there. I'd have to book well in advance. And on top of that, I'd have to pay a co-payment that exceeds more than what I paid in total here, which is about $55. My copay would have been more than that. And that's before touching even the prescription costs, right? Had I gotten prescriptions there, it obviously would have been much more. I don't know exactly how much more. I never bought antivirals in the United States, but I'm confident this probably would have cost me several $100s. So again, minimal wait time, competent doctors, competent system, private hospital, no insurance, less than $60, and completely cured within a week and a half. Now let's talk about the skin abscess. So I actually thought that the shingles was the worst, which was worse than the skin abscess, because I thought the skin abscess, it was just basically a bite, right? I got a bite. It felt like a mosquito bite until it didn't, until it started hurting and started growing and started being infected. And I pretty much let it go for an entire week, right? Until it got to the point where I couldn't sleep. Once it starts to bother me where I can't sleep, that's when I start getting concerned. So that night where I literally couldn't sleep at all because of the pain that I was having, I knew that in the morning, as early as possible, I was gonna go into the emergency room and get this thing checked out. So that same morning, maybe like 5 a.m., I walked straight into the emergency room of the same private hospital where I got my doctor consultations and had a good experience, and no consultation was needed. I simply walked in and got served right away, all right? I didn't even have to pay anything initially. They just basically put me into a triage room where a nurse checked my blood pressure. She asked me a bunch of questions, and then she led me into a private room where there was a doctor waiting for me. And literally within minutes, this was a female doctor this time, she basically knew right away what was wrong, right? I told her where the pain was, and she basically saw my skin abscess. Maybe I'll show a photo of it. And she asked me, how long have I had this? I told her it's been a little over a week, and right away she got to work. What she did was make an incision, right? She basically cut it open, she drained it, she treated it, and she basically banded it up after that, which honestly gave me a huge relief. Right away I can feel, the whole process was painful, obviously, when she was making the incision and all that and basically draining it. But after that part was over, I felt an immense relief physically. And from there, she prescribed me with antibiotics, basically wrote me a prescription, which again, the pharmacy's right across the street, so it was easy to get the antibiotics. And she told me I had to return every single day at the emergency room for them to do a curación. Basically, a curación is them treating it, basically draining it every single morning and treating it and rebandaging it and cleaning it and that sort of thing, right? So this time, it was not a consultation. This time, it was daily emergency room visits, plus someone basically did a procedure on me. So I was like, man, I wonder how much this is gonna cost me. And the total cost breakdown is what really surprised me. So just for the emergency room visit at this private hospital, cost me about $20. And then to get the daily wound care, which is the curación, cost me the same exact amount. It was about $20 per visit for about, I think it was like 5 to 6 days in total. And I'll even share some proof with you, some screenshots, because I track all my spending using a certain software. So all this stuff is trackable. When you factor everything in, the grand total for the skin abscess and the emergency room visits and the procedure and the antibiotics came to less than $200 in total. So this ended up being the more serious medical condition and the one that cost me the most time, the most money. But still, guys, so for less than $200 to visit the emergency room, to have care right away on the spot, and within less than a week to be cured of that skin abscess, again, I was pleasantly surprised with that experience as well. Had this happened in the United States, I have never been to the emergency room as an adult. As a kid, I've broken some bones as a kid playing sports, but as an adult, I've also broken some bones, but I didn't go to the emergency room for it. I don't know how much that would have cost me, to be honest with you guys. Just an emergency room visit, probably several $100s, maybe even more. And then on top of that, the procedure, right? The procedure, all the tools, the medications they had to use, who knows how much that would have cost me, probably into the thousands, at least several hundreds. And then on top of that, the antibiotics, again, all this stuff would have cost me so much more. We're definitely talking into the thousands here. And again, I had zero health insurance inside the country of Paraguay. All I had was the international for emergencies only, which I didn't use in this case. So I was pleasantly surprised by, of course, the affordability of it all, but more importantly, I was more surprised by the care, the competence in the process of how everything worked here in Paraguay. Now, let me go a little bit deeper here because I also experienced the same thing in Bolivia. So my trip to Bolivia, which was I recently came back from, I had a second skin abscess from a spider bite that happened in Asuncion, and I had already had a trip booked to Bolivia before that. So this happened 2 days before my flight, and because I had this good of an experience in Asuncion, I actually debated whether I should just stay in Paraguay and just take care of everything there and delay it instead of going to a completely new country where I had no idea what the healthcare system was like, how much it was going to cost, and all that. And when it's all said and done, I decided to go to Bolivia anyways to experience the healthcare system there. And I'll just say that it cost me about maybe 2.5 to 3 times more in Bolivia. The process wasn't as good and the care wasn't as good either. So I think Paraguay has a really good healthcare system when you compare it to another country such as Bolivia. All right, now let's talk preventative testing. So I got a full blood and full body scan while I was there and was sent to multiple different departments for some pretty comprehensive screening. I got complete blood work done, full panel covering key health markers. I even got my testosterone checked. I got all my STD screenings. I got a full body composition. And for all those health markers, which was really great to have because I basically put it into ChatGPT, I even scheduled another consultation with the same specialist so that he can basically review everything that was covered. So that cost me another 20 bucks. All in for the blood work, for the full body scan, cost me about $134. Plus for the specialist consultation, add another $20. It cost me about $154. But nowadays you can just put it into ChatGPT. It'll give you the full analysis from there too. But I think that for the depth of the health information that are received for the entire process, that's also incredible value for what I got. All right, so my final thoughts on the healthcare system, my experience in Paraguay was very, very good. All right, I felt that the doctors there were very knowledgeable. The wait times were very short. The entire process was pretty efficient. Cost was obviously very low, good value for what I got. And compared to the US, if you were to ask me, where would I want something like this? Like if I had a choice to have a skin abscess or shingles to happen, and you were to tell me, would I prefer it to happen while in the US to use their healthcare or you have it in Paraguay? I would choose Paraguay 10 out of 10. Okay, and the specific private hospital that I went to is called Centro Médico Bautista. Now, again, there's really 3 hospitals that are really good in Asuncion. This one I chose because it is closer to where I live. And if anything like this were to happen to me again, then I would return here without hesitation. And personally, I also don't see the need for local private health insurance at this stage in my life. Again, I'm a single guy, no kids, just really got to take care of myself. So if anything like this were to happen again, I already know how much it's going to cost. I already know what the process is like. You know, it's not going to break my bank or anything like that. So I recommend keeping international health insurance just for emergency purposes only. If I were to get a bill for maybe a couple $100,000, which I don't know what would need to happen for me to have that type of a bill, but let's call it in a few $1,000s, somewhere around there, then I'd probably make a claim with my international health insurance. Luckily, I haven't had to use that yet, but I'm a strong believer of just paying out of pocket when you're in places like Paraguay or even Colombia, because the care that you're gonna get is very good and the cost is also gonna be very low compared to what you probably experience in the US or your home country. All right, and that's it for this video, guys. Short and sweet. I just wanted to give you an overview of my experience with the healthcare system, which is overall a very good experience. So if you guys are interested in Paraguay, you guys should know by now I have a Paraguay residency checklist going over step by step what I did to complete that process, including the bank account that I got after receiving my cedula. And if you want some help with this, you can apply to work with my residency specialist. Link to all that is below. Or if you just want to watch similar videos to this one, then check out the video that I did on my 1-year update living in Asuncion, Paraguay. You can find it right here, and I'll see you there.